Caleb Williams, the 2026 NFL MVP. Will Nashon Wright be extended? That and some more Bears rumors, guys, some offseason trades, some free agency rumors. Thanks for joining us for the Halas Hangover, guys, on 4-Star Chicago Sports. I am Brandon. That is Kyle. Kyle, what's going on?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Good. Not much to talk about, guys, but we like to talk with you anyways about whatever it is that's on your mind. That and more after this.
Windy City banners rocking 4 stars align. Dynasty dreams rise, Bulls in their prime. Cubs curse shattered, the victory divine. Fields be running, clock ticking on my timeline. Shot-town heroes, legends never fade. Black Hawks flying, cutting ice with the blade. White Sox diamonds, the Southside parade. 4 stars shine bright, legacies they made. Mike with the crown, air rain, no dispute. Sweetness in the backfield, Walter in pursuit. Bear down Sunday's midfield, battles cute. Chicago.
What's going on, guys? Thanks again for joining us for another Halas Hangover. And once again, it is just 2 of us, guys. There will be some point in which I think the 4 of us will be together again. Not right now. Sean and Dustin are dealing with some things. It is just me and Kyle twinning once again. Kyle, I never told you. Do you know what people call you in the chat when you're not on the show?
No.
They call you Kyle. Got him. Got him.
Yeah, not really, because somebody in the chat on Wednesday called me Brandon. So
You sons of bitches. All right, guys, let's get this thing rolling forward. Like I said, please, guys, be active in the chat. There's not a whole lot to talk about, but we did want to just have some conversation with y'all in general. But me and Kyle are going to kind of project some 2026 player awards and see if possibly the Bears are in line for some. Nashon Wright said out of his own mouth, not sure where it's posted, Kyle, so there is a source. I don't know what Twitter, possibly X or whatever, possibly Facebook. I don't know what it was, but sounds like he is going to meet with the Chicago Bears about a possible extension. And then we want to talk about some of these guys that are available in the free agency at positions that the Bears, we know the Bears are kind of looking. So let's start with the Nashon Wright thing, Kyle. Okay, and there's a lot to talk about here. There's a lot to dissect, actually. But I know that you read earlier that Nashon or his agent had reported that he's going to meet with the Bears about a possible extension.
yeah, I believe it's Monday. So, according to his agent,
Today or next week?
I think it's next week. But according to his agent, Nashon Wright has come out and said that he wants to stay with the Chicago Bears. And as far as he knows, his agent and the Chicago Bears are going to have meet at some point this week. It may have been today. I don't have to double check, Brendan, but about a possible contract extension. Now, listen, obviously, this is nothing set in stone. They're probably meeting with every single free agent on the Bears about a contract extension just to see what they're asking for. So this doesn't mean by any means necessary that the Bears are highly interested in re-signing Nashon Wright. But there's not a lot going on in the world of the Bears right now, and Nashon Wright came out and said out of his own mouth. So first of all, I'd like to know what you guys think about a possible Nashon Wright contract extension. But first, I'm going to tell you
Would you want him here, guys? And then, Romy, I couldn't agree with you more.
I don't.
Says Nashon is going to get a bag and like it somewhere other than Chicago. I believe he is. I believe he's going to get paid.
Yeah, and I know that there's some connection with him and the Cowboys. So I don't know if it was like one of his best friends plays there, or that one of the defensive backs coaches likes him there. I don't know, but let me tell you why I don't want Nashon Wright on the Chicago Bears next year, Brennan. I mean, first and foremost, let's face it, Nashon Wright was a security blanket. He was a guy who the Bears picked up off the Vikings practice squad. He was never projected to spend as much time with the starters as he did. It was only due to injuries to Kyler Gordon and Jalen Johnson that he got as much playing time as he did. Obviously, there was something going on with Tyreek Stevenson that we don't know. I don't know if the coaches just don't like him. He doesn't fit this scheme, but he kind of took a back seat to Nashon Wright at some point this season. His coverage grade in 2025, Brennan, was 63.4. That ranked him 56 out of 114 qualifying corners. And that measures the effectiveness in coverage situations, only coverage situations.
Falls about the half mark.
Yeah, in the middle of the pack. The receptions he allowed this year is 53, and his passer rating allowed this year was 94.7 from opposing quarterbacks. He also gave up 14 yards per reception, which is higher than the NFL average. Listen, I like the fact that this guy gets takeaways. He had 6 pass breakups. He had 2 pressures this season. I mean, he's better than I think people probably have given him credit for in the past, considering the guy came off the practice squad. He certainly probably belongs on a 53-man roster. I just don't want it to be the Chicago Bears. First of all, Brennan, the Bears have already spent a ton of money in their secondary. All right. They've already paid Jalen Johnson, they've paid Gyler Gordon, and they've spent a bunch of draft capital on. They continue to draft a corner or safety basically every year. They also signed Kevin Byard to that 2-year. I think from what I understand, Brennan, if you listen to Ryan Pohl's presser, it sounds to me like they are highly interested in bringing Kevin Byard back here. So that's more money going in the secondary. I just don't think Nashon Wright is a guy you absolutely need here. And if he does next year, he goes into next and he doesn't have the same amount of takeaways. I think he had 5 interceptions and 3 fumble recoveries. If he can't do that next year, then he just becomes an average to below average corner. He's not good in coverage. You take away the big plays, he's actually probably one of the worst players in the Bears secondary. I like Terrell Smith better. I think Zay Frazier will probably be better. You've Kyler Gordon. I think Tyreek Stevenson showed that if you watch the last 2 games of the season in the playoffs, he was better than Nashon Wright. I think the team got better the more that Tyreek Stevenson was involved. This is just not a guy that I would spend a lot of money on. And I think based off of his season last year, especially after making the Pro Bowl, he's going to ask for a lot of money because this is probably going to end up being his retirement contract.
Yeah, it's not quite the same as wide receiver guys. These guys are a little harder to come by. You don't just get a bunch of undrafted free agent studs at this position. I do appreciate everything Nashon Wright did here.
Sure, I don't dislike
the season
him.
he had was memorable, but I do wonder if it's a flash in the pan, guys. I don't know that Nashon Wright can consistently take the ball away at the rate he has for the remainder of his career. Most players don't, even the good ones. You've got hot, cold seasons. Sometimes sometimes they intercept, like Kevin Byard can, in his time with the Bears, he's intercepted the ball a lot. There was a couple of seasons before he was signed here where he had a bit of a dry spell. And you're right, Kyle, if you're not providing that, you're just providing bad coverage and a high completion percentage to opposing quarterbacks. I also wonder if retaining a Nashon Wright would affect the ability for Zay Frazier to even get on the field. I think that Zay Frazier does have the potential to be a very special player in the NFL. He's got the size. We know that. He was a ball hawk. I think Al Harris and Ryan Poles like this guy a whole lot. I want to see him get some opportunities on this team. And I agree with you, Kyle. I think, I think the Bears fan base has pretty much, especially after the game in Washington, the Fail Mary, the Bears fan base is kind of stuck by Tyreek Stevenson. A lot of fans, a lot of guys in our chat, a lot of people appreciate Tyreek Stevenson as a cover corner. I think that he played much better than Nashon Wright as a cover corner. And Tyreek Stevenson makes plays himself. I mean, remember the play in Dallas where he took the ball out of Javonte Williams' hands? I mean, I think with Kevin Byard, Kyler Gordon, Jalen Johnson, you've got a lot of talent here. Well, you obviously need to bring Byard back, but you've got a lot of talent here in the secondary, and I don't know how much more money you can spend on it. I would love to see this secondary be, and I'm going to say, altered. It doesn't need to be overhauled, guys. They've got a lot of talent there. If there's a couple of moves they want to make, add some depth, add some talent. You might already have some guys on this roster, and Terrell Smith and Zay Frazier, like you said, Kyle, that can make an impact next year, but maybe get a guy late in the draft or a guy you like in the middle of the draft. Brian Poles' scouting department has done a really good job in the secondary. They have. Jalen Johnson was already here, but Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker, Kevin Byard, Tyreek Stevenson, these guys are all players, man. These guys who have made impact on this Bears team, and they've made plays. And I just hate to see. Listen, it reminds me of, you watch the season he had with the turnovers that he acquired, the takeaways that he had. There's a lot of times, guys, we see this in the NFL. Kyle, I know you mentioned a lot the guys, those kids in Dallas, the Deron Bland and Diggs.
Oh, I remember Trayvon Diggs had, I think it was 2021. He had 11 takeaways that season.
And 6 or 4 pick sixes in a season.
Yeah, so they signed, but remember, Trayvon Diggs, because of those takeaways, he was getting a lot of things were being overshadowed. He was giving up massive plays, touchdowns. He was not a good coverage corner. He was just opportunistic. In 2023, the Cowboys decided to give him a $97 million five-year extension. And what has he done since then, Brennan? Now this guy, he's been one of the lowest takeaway corners in the NFL, and since he's become that, he was not good there. And what did they end up doing? They ended up cutting him just so the Packers could pick him up for their playoff run against the Bears. Their playoff game against the Bears.
And cut him
They're not.
And he played one snap for the Packers. But
Trayvon Diggs is a perfect blueprint of what the Bears should not do. Listen, like I said,
there's so many, Kyle. Matt Flynn. How many guys did
Well, yeah, but
something? How many guys did something that got them
yeah, but
paid?
this is a direct correlation, Brendan, because they are. If you look at their coverage numbers between Javon Diggs and Nashon Wright, they're pretty similar. Like neither of those guys are going to blow your mind when it talks about just playing sound fundamental football, but they are opportunistic and they find a way to get become ball hawks and take the ball away from the opposing offense. That listen, sometimes that's not going to happen. The ball doesn't always bounce that way. You're not going to get like, for instance, the interception, the pick six Nashon Wright had against Minnesota. You're not going to play JJ McCarthy every game where he throws a terrible pass that you can jump the route and return to the end zone. If Nashon Wright goes in the next season, he has the same exact coverage numbers, Brennan, but he only has 4 takeaways. Now you're talking about a handicap in your defense, and like you just said,
It's a liability.
yeah, Terrell Smith is a good player. I think we need. I think Bears. I speak for all Bears fans when I say we want to see more Terrell Smith. I think we want to see more of Tyreek Stevenson before the Bears just count him out. You just drafted Zay Frazier, who Dennis Allen handpicked out of this draft because he likes him and he thinks he fits his scheme or his defense.
And more importantly,
why would you go give
Zay
a ton of money
Frazier-
to a guy who may end up being a backup?
And Zay Frazier, more importantly than Terrell Smith, did not have an injury to overcome. Terrell Smith might not play a lot of football in his future, but Zay Frazier is still a young, fresh set of legs. And I think, like I said, man, you can find many examples of this where you kind of get stuck with you get stuck holding the bag, guys. It's how much if Romy's correct, which I agree with you, Romy, this guy is gonna want a lot of cash. I think he is. And would you feel comfortable, guys? Throw it in the chat. Would you feel comfortable being the team that's willing to pay it? Especially as loaded as you are at this position. And I do believe this, guys, I've said this for a long time. These guys on the back end will play better if you fix what's up front. They will. These guys, this Jalen Johnson, Coward Gordon, Tyreek Stevenson, Byard, whoever Briscoe, whoever it is you decide to bring back, if neither of them, you get some young fresh safeties. I think that this secondary is a really strong unit. I think they're one of the better
Brendan,
units
we
in
were
the
talking
NFL. And
about
I don't think the numbers from last season, the passing yards allowed per game, I don't think that's a reflection
we were
of
talking
who they
about
are.
we were talking about them being a top 3 unit coming into the NFL until coming in the 2025 season until Kyler Gordon and Jalen Johnson got hurt. I don't see why Bears fans have like steered away from that. I still think that there's a ton of talent in the secondary. We all know that if you look at the bigger sample size of Jalen Johnson, he was one of the best shutdown corners in the NFL. Kyler Gordon proved his worth when he just in those 2 playoff games he played in. He absolutely changes the defense in every way, shape, or form. He is the Swiss Army knife for the Chicago Bears. He's their Brian Branch, their Nick Worry. He's the guy who can do a little bit of everything. You could use him a ton of different ways. He improves the pass rush. I think the Bears just need to get healthy more than anything. Now, listen, that's a huge if.
God, have you ever seen this?
No, I was actually going to bring that up. Slim Bo Boogie says, cut Edmonds, draft a linebacker with 57. I couldn't agree with you more, Slim. I think the Bears are going to cut Edmonds. I think that writing's on the wall pretty much. I think he's already been told he's going to be cut. And he also follows that up on him with defensive line at pick 25. If you get a chance, Slim, go watch our Wednesday show. The Barely There podcast. We've broken down
any show for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, we on Wednesdays we broke down the linebackers, the defensive tackles, and the defensive ends in this draft. Talked about who we think we like and who we think the Bears have a real possible chance of drafting. We all agree with you, man. We think the defensive tackle or defensive end should be the pick at 25. I also agree that cut Edmonds and the Bears should draft a linebacker. I think it's got to be a very defensive heavy draft for the Chicago Bears. If you get a chance, man, go check those shows out. Thanks for joining the show. We appreciate you. Please hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already.
I do want to say this too. I mean, you talked about both Diggs and Nashon right in the same context. I think these guys that are able to take the ball away at a high rate is because they take chances.
But it's not sustainable.
They make plays on the ball, but sometimes it leaves you get burned.
I mean,
and if he's not taking the ball away, he's really just getting burned.
Yeah, I mean, you see players like Kevin Byard, right? Kevin Byard has a very high football IQ. He's not the most athletic safety in the NFL. He's not the strongest or the fastest, but yeah, he's very smart and he knows he can read the quarterback's eyes. He can bait the quarterback and he creates turnovers using his football IQ, using his brain. Nashon Wright's very long and athletic, and he made some amazing plays this season.
Oh, that interception, that one-handed toe tap interception was better than any wide receiver's catch this year.
Especially, it was at the one where his coach had just died the previous week. He'd been shot the previous week. I think that it was one of the. Listen, he made a ton of great plays, but at the end of the day, Brennan, I don't think Nashon Wright's success is sustainable. I just don't think this is who Nashon Wright's going to be for the rest of his career. And I don't know if you remember now, Brennan, this is a long time ago, but when Diggs was doing everything he was doing for the Cowboys, I constantly reminded people that outside of the takeaways, he's not a good corner. He wasn't. I mean, this guy will take the ball away twice and then give up 2 60-yard touchdowns in the same game. Like, well, what is he really doing for you then? It's basically a wash. Nashon Wright was kind of the same way. Maybe not as dramatic, but certainly in that conversation. I just don't think Nashon Wright, I think he's going to be worth here. Sean's got the projected deal right here, man. Yeah, so Sean's talking about Nashon right here. He says, I thought I see was projected a 3-year deal worth approximately $50 million, almost $17 million. Yeah, I mean, you guys, for a guy who ultimately should probably, I think all Bears fans agree, end up being a backup on this team to Tyreek Stevenson, Jalen Johnson, and Kyler Gordon, are you willing to pay a backup or a guy who's a fringe rotational piece $16 million a year solely based off of the fact that he had 5 interceptions, 3 forced fumbles? I'm not. If I'm the Bears. First of all, the Bears, we already know that the Bears in 2026, the offseason, are going to be in money trouble as begin. We're talking about cutting a linebacker who, listen, is certainly not the best linebacker in the NFL, but definitely contributed to this team last year and looked really good early just to save cap space. And you're talking about bringing a guy like Nashon Wright in here and giving him the same money you're cutting from Tremaine Edmonds. Now, listen, I understand, Brendan, that his agent has to do his due diligence. The Bears have to do their due diligence. This conversation was always going to happen. So I'm not trying to blow this up to some story like, oh, the Bears are signing Nashon Wright. That's not what it is. But since it's in the news today, I'd love to get more from the chat. Do you guys really, is that a guy you'd want to see on this roster for, Sean put it here, $16.6 million a year? Absolutely not.
Let me ask you this.
Not in any way, shape. I'd rather have Tremaine Edmonds.
Well, we're in the conversation, and Sean provided the information that he did. Would you keep Nashon Wright if he accepted a low ball offer?
Not. It'd have to be a lot lower than that. It'd have to be a lot lower than that.
Like he was offered
I wouldn't give him
$8 million a year. Would you?
No, I wouldn't pay him $8 million a year. No, I wouldn't.
Really?
I'm sorry. Listen, I know Bears fans probably think I'm crazy because he had so many good plays this year, but I'm not giving Nashon.
I mean, he had a remarkable season. I'm
not taking anything away from him, but remember, Brendan, the only reason he got to the Pro Bowl was because somebody else decided they didn't want to play, and the reason people are so mad about that, this guy led the league in turnovers for corners, and he didn't make the Pro Bowl. Well, that's because they looked at the rest of his numbers. That's why they didn't make. He didn't. Now, listen, the Pro Bowl's a joke. It's all popularity contest. It's you're a good player. The guys, Travis Kelce's always going to make the Pro Bowl regardless of how shitty a season he has. We all know it's a joke, but if you ask me, if you look at his numbers of totality, you look at his coverage numbers, I wasn't upset that Nashon Wright didn't make the Pro Bowl, Brendan. I was not upset in any way, shape, or form. I completely understood why the NFL.
I thought he should have made the Pro Bowl. There was there's a big part of this fan base that was mad that he wasn't an all-pro player, which is just ridiculous. But Bizzle Joe, real quick, here says, per Adam Schefter, the NFL Competition Committee is discussing the possibility of authorizing replay officials to throw flags for specific penalties. Yeah, I think we can all think back to at least a few moments in this last season where this was probably a necessity.
Well, here's what I don't understand. You know what? I'm glad that Vizzo Joe brought this up because Brendan, is there anything else you want to say about Nashon Wright? Because we can change this conversation a little bit.
No, we can move to the next segment. When Vizzo Joe just created one. Let's roll with this.
Yeah, I mean, Vizzo, so
Thanks,
the problem I have with this is like I feel like the NFL just continues to pile on more and more. Like, hey, instead of throwing flags for a flag that was thrown because you don't think, how about we just get these referees, these officials into like some sort of university before the season starts, and they all have to watch specific replays from games last year or plays last year, and they all have to get on the same exact page. Played, what is a catch? What's not a catch? What's pass interference? What's not pass interference? What's holding? What's not holding?
What's roughing Caleb Williams?
Yeah, and then make these guys
that seemed to be lost the wayside.
Put these guys through trials and tribulation. give them tests. Say, hey, we're going to show a play for you, and you guys have to tell us whether or not this is pass interference. And if they can't pass those tests and have harsh grading scales, if they can't pass those tests by the end of the year, then they can't be official in the NFL. You guys, it's getting out of hand. This is becoming. You're watching one game on Monday night, and it's a completely different game than it is on Thursday night. It's according to which officials they have that day. It's time for the NFL to start cleaning this shit up because it's getting to the point where, I mean, we saw it in the playoffs alone, that catch against the Bills that was considered not a catch, was considered interception, was almost the exact same play in what was the Bears-Rams game? I mean, you guys, or no, was it the Patriots game? It's just getting old. It's getting old. There's no consistency.
Was it the Packers game where Caleb just got rocked in the head? I mean, just destroyed. Was it the
Yeah, but you know what I'll say about that game?
Bears playoff game?
Yeah, but what I'll say about that game, though, is I think that game was called consistently. Like there was a lot. They were just.
You just said it. Rules are rules. If you can't decide, if you can't identify when that penalty, roughing the quarterback is a penalty, That's the easiest one, man. You got a guy standing there watching that play specifically for that reason. If
Yeah,
you
but
can't, if a guy gets blasted in the head and you can't see that as a penalty, you got no business doing this job.
yeah, but I'll compare it to like watching a baseball game. So for instance, like you're not really mad at the umpire if he's calling the outside strike by an inch. That's not what upsets you.
What's up, Paul?
It's if he's calling the outside strike by an inch for one team, but not calling it for the other team. That's when it gets upsetting. Like
Or now they can challenge.
there's always going to be human error, right? The game's never going to be perfect as long as human beings are the officials and not robots or AI. But what you can do is be consistent. That's what, well, at least one thing you can do is be more consistent. But real quick, Paul Martin here says, any opinion on signing Cam Jordan free agency? He'll be 37, missed one game in 15 years and had 10 and a half sacks in 2025, 2026. I think that's probably a possibility, Paul. I think that because of his relationship with Dennis Allen, that conversation has probably come up inside Halas Hall. I don't know if that's the guy who's going to come here and like save your team. I think it's very similar to a Grady Jarrett contract where you're talking about getting a guy at the end of his career and he's probably going to miss a couple games and he's probably also not going to be as efficient as he has been his entire career. But I mean, the more help they can bring in here, the merrier. The only problem with the Bears right now is it's not the situation where you have $90 to $100 million to spend and you can just add a bunch of studs and rotate them in and out. The Bears need to you're going to only have enough money for 2 or 3 guys and they need to be difference makers.
Yeah, Sean, if you're watching, what is the projected salary for a guy like Cam Jordan? I know Cam's old, but he's still, you just posted 10 and a half sacks in his last season. He's still playing at a pretty high level. I don't know that he's going to come cheap. And I don't know that I want to spend a lot of money on a 37-year-old. I do like Cam Jordan. I think that of all of the pass rushers that Dennis Allen ever coached, it's probably his favorite. I could definitely see the Dennis Allen pushing for Ryan Poles to
He bred him.
at least visit with
He
this
bred
guy.
him. He made him who he was. He bred him.
But
He's the reason he was so good. I mean, I'm sure there's
when
a
it comes
very
to free
strong
agents,
personal relationship.
I'll always, it's the same sentiment. At what cost?
Yeah, and guys, just a rumor, and it's nothing official. It's just
That's
some.
Halas. The first time I've seen that name at 25.
Yeah, Slim. I don't know if you get a chance, please, Slim, go watch the Barely There podcast when we did our defensive tackles and defense. I love Cassius Howell. If you watch the podcast, I honestly quoted saying, if the Bears get Cassius Howell at 25, that means 24 other teams made massive mistakes. He's going to be an absolute stud. Most of these defensive linemen in the draft this year are kind of developmental guys. There's no like real Aaron Donald in this draft or Jalen Carter, but I'm telling you, man, there's going to be a lot of talent there at 25. It's a deep draft, so you can get a better chance to get more good players rather than one great player. But if Cassius Howell is there at 25 and the Bears decide to draft him, yeah, you won't have to convince me that they made the right move because I absolutely love that guy. Brendan, there was some news today that is a little disheartening for Bears fans. Sean and I have talked about this guy a lot. But John Franklin Myers on the Denver Broncos, who has been one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL over the last 5, 6, 7 seasons, one of the highest pressure rates of any defensive tackle in the NFL. The guy's an absolute stud. He's been a huge contributor to that Broncos defense, who has led the league in sacks for the last 2 years in a row. He came out and him and a Titans coach were tweeting back and forth together today. And one of the Titans coaches posted a picture of him saying, just saying, with 2 eyes looking. And then John Franklin Myers tweeted him back. It's a coach that he played with for a long time. And the Tennessee Titans have the most money of any team in free agency this year at $103 million in cap space. If the Titans want John Franklin Myers and the Bears try to get into a bidding war with them, the Bears are going to lose that bidding war. I can tell you that right now. And that stinks because I think that's the guy in free agency that could make the biggest impact for this team.
They've got a pretty good set of tackles over there.
Oh, I mean, add another one, man. Bernie, you know how it is. You can never get enough defensive linemen, man. Those guys, they will change the trajectory of your defense completely. If you could constantly create pressure on the opposing quarterback, your defense is always going to look a lot better. Brendan, if he decides he doesn't want to go to the Titans, and like I said, you guys, it's just an Instagram post. It's not like there's any rumor of him going to meeting with the Titans. But if he doesn't go on, if he's willing to listen to the highest bidder, if I were the Bears, I would be willing to spend almost every dollar I have in free agency on John Franklin Myers because I think he fixes the biggest hole they have, which is creating pressure up the middle for the defensive line and upside. I think the more pressure you create in the middle, the easier it becomes for those guys on the outside, like Montez Sweat. Brendan, here's another name in here. Denise Nicole. I don't think I've ever seen.
It's a friend of mine.
Oh, what's up, Denise? How you doing?
Thanks for joining us. Hey, you've skipped Mikey said something there in regards to CJ Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah, let's go back to it. Sorry, I'm trying. You guys,
Thank
this
you.
the chat lately. I think I talked to you guys about this last week. For some reason, Brennan,
Yeah,
it's
it takes
lagging,
forever
and
to upload. Yeah.
I'm
And
getting
then you get hit
30 at
with
it.
like 900,000.
Yeah, I'm getting
of them.
30 at a time, and I'm trying to keep the
I
show
might
like
have
structured.
overestimated
I'm
a
trying
little
to go
bit.
back and
I
forth
rounded
and
up.
back and forth.
Well, CJ Gardner Johnson is pretty comparable to me to Nashon Wright. He's not making plays in the same way in regards to taking the ball. He did have a decent amount of turnovers, but he can get after the quarterback. He makes plays, but when he's asked just simply to do his job, which is cover somebody, he disappoints. I don't know how much Gardner Johnson's going to ask
Yeah,
for.
guys, Brennan, him getting knocked out was one of the best things that ever happened to the Bears. I'm sorry, no offense, Mikey. I love you, man. You're one of my favorites, but I don't think Gardner Johnson's a very good player at all. I think he's another guy where if Brennan's 100% correct, if this guy's not getting takeaways, man, he is
Or
just bad.
sacks. They can
I
get
mean,
to
it
the
was.
quarterback.
I think it was the first game. Yeah, it was the first game against the Packers where Gardner Johnson was in the slot, and his pass was thrown his way. Jordan Love was
7 for
7 for 140 yards and 3 touchdowns. Listen. I like the attitude that CJ Gardner Johnson brings to the Chicago Bears. I like the way his playing style. I think he likes hitting people, but I just don't think he's very good in coverage. And I think the older he gets, it's only going to get worse, man. And true, Pilgrim, I understand completely, man. They already have Simmons. They already got Sweat. But, I mean, there's not a
I
team
was
in the
going to say
NFL
they
that
have
wouldn't.
a pretty monster duo.
Yeah, there's not a team in the NFL that wouldn't love to add Tropic Lamaris to that rotation. I mean, and if he's he's like, oh, I love the coaching staff over there. I'm willing to take a pay cut to go to the Titans. I think that'd be a match made in heaven for them. And you're talking about now maybe possibly the best defensive rotation in the NFL, if defensive tackle position. If I'm the Titans, I'm all in on that if he's interested in playing for them. You guys, when you have $103 million to spend, why not?
One is it? What is it? Robert Saleh? Who's there? Is it the head coach?
Yeah, Salah's the head coach.
So I mean, he's a good defensive coordinator. I don't know if he's a good head coach. Matter of fact, I'd go as far to say he's not. But
I think he is.
they got Brian Dable as an offensive coordinator. I thought that was a sneaky hire. Nobody.
I think it was an amazing hire. And you know what? Maybe Robert Saleh is not the best head coach in football, but you've heard me say this 1,000 times, Brent. You know exactly what I'm about to say. I'm not judging anything that happens on the Jets. I refuse. I just think the Jets have a good way of making everybody look bad, no matter what they do, whether it's a player, executive, coach. I just think the Jets are one of the worst run organizations in all of sports. It's like going to the White Sox and being like, oh, that guy wasn't really that good on the White Sox. Watch, Brennan. Luis Robert was traded this year from the White Sox. Watch, he's going to be one of the best players in all of baseball. I just think when you're miserable, you're just not as good at your job.
Where was Robert traded? That happened already?
Luis Robert, yeah, he was traded. I forgot where he was traded to, but yeah, they just traded him. He's gone.
White Sox doing White Soxy things.
Well, no, I mean, he's not going to be at his age. He's not going to be part of the championship team in 4 or 5 years. So there's no point to keep just paying him tons of money just for him to be on a bad team. The White Sox won't be above 500 for at least 2 more years. At least.
That pitching staff's going to be pretty damn good next year. But
listen, I like what Getz has done. It's going to be a while. Rome wasn't built in a day.
Now, speaking of the Jets, I know a lot of, the Bears are obviously always going to be looking at the running back position as long as Ben Johnson's their head coach. He was willing to part ways with DeAndre Swift when he was the offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions, and I do believe that was a heavily influenced Ben Johnson decision. So let's dive into some of these guys that are becoming available in free agency, or some players that might even have, a trade tag again over their head. Let's start with the guy that we've been texting about for majority of the day between Sean, Dustin, myself, and you. Brees Hall, the running back on New York Jets. He's had some pretty quality seasons, even on a team that's as dysfunctional as they are. I don't know what the dollar value is going to be here. I don't know I know that he did say something about, if I'm franchise tagged, I'll consider retirement. He doesn't want to be a Jet. What are the possibilities the Bears go after a guy like Brees Hall, and do you think that's something the Bears should do, given that he'll probably cost a little more than your average free agent running back?
Brennan, I think the possibilities are high. It may not be Brees Hall, but I think now that you start to hear enough rumors that are involved in Travis Etienne, they're involved in Brees Hall, that they start to become true.
Kenneth Walker's the one name I just don't hear. I don't know if it's because that guy's definitely getting the bag, but I have not heard Kenneth Walker. Kyle dying. Well, he's joking. I think Brees Hall is obviously a very talented player. I do think that the Jets are a reflection of how well he's done so far in his career. He's a guy that's got a pretty good 4.3. He can receive the ball just as well as run the ball. He can receive the ball really just as well as anybody in the NFL. I don't know. I think $15 million was the mark that Dustin had quoted earlier. I don't know if I want the Bears spending that at their running back position, considering they just drafted one. They've got a guy they're paying a lot of money to already. You would have to move on from Swift in order to pay.
Well, and that's a real possibility because remember, DeAndre Swift has already been paid most of his guarantees. So if you cut DeAndre Swift this offseason, I think he's owed $8.5 million. You'd end up saving $7.5 million. I think it'd only be about $1 million in cap space or dead
this
cap.
poor bastard gets cut.
Yeah, but listen, man, here's what
wherever he goes.
If you're talking about, we could talk about each one of these guys individually, but if you're talking about getting rid of DeAndre Swift and paying Breece Hall almost double, maybe not the time. Like now, that I just don't know if the Bears are in a situation where they can do that because of the salary cap issues. But if this was a season where the Bears had plenty of cap space, I'm all for it. Brendan, Breece Hall is a better running back than DeAndre Swift. I'm sorry, guys. It's not even close. Not only that, guys, but I'm all for cutting DeAndre Swift. I know Bears fans, it's not a very popular opinion. A lot of people like him. I just don't think at $8.5 million a year, he does anything special. You're talking about a guy who's ranked somewhere around 16th, 17th, 18th in the running back in the league every single year. And like we talked about on Wednesday, it seems like the Bears are starting to favor Kyle Malone guy a little bit down the stretch anyway. You want to talk about a guy, Brendan, who can do everything, a guy you don't have to take off the field, a guy who can be your bruiser, just like Kyle Malone guy, and your pass catcher and elusive. Breece Hall's the guy, Brendan. This guy is special. Brendan, you said it yourself. This guy played 16 games last year. He had 243 carries, 1,065 yards. That's 4.5 yard average, 4 rushing touchdowns, a 60-yard long. So he's got the breakaway speed. He had 36 receptions for 350 yards. That's 10 yards a catch and a receiving touchdown. This is a guy who, since he's joined the NFL in 56 games, has almost 3,500 yards in just on the ground. And he has another 1,600 yards in the air. I think, Bernie, you're 100% right. Listen, if you compare those numbers to DeAndre Swift, are you like, well, that's a completely different player? Of course you go get it. No, maybe not. But he's also played for the worst team in the NFL. DeAndre Swift, on the flip side, in the last 2 seasons, has worse stats, and he's been behind 2 of the best offensive lines in football. First with the Philadelphia Eagles, then the Chicago Bears last year. I think Breece Hall was drafted in the first 2 rounds as a running back because he's a damn good player and he's special. And I think the Jets people have kind of lost sight of that because he's been on the New York Jets. If you bring him to Chicago behind this offensive line, Brennan, I think you're talking about a guy who could accumulate maybe 1,600 rushing yards and another 400 or 500 receiving yards and could be a major difference maker for this team. Listen, is he Jahmyr Gibbs, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry? Maybe not. But I'm telling you right now that he could be one of the best running backs in the NFL if he was in a more advantageous situation. Now, listen, I agree with Romy here. From what I've heard, it sounds like the Jets are planning on tagging. I don't know if it was the franchise tag they're using on him, but I think they do plan on tagging him. So that might not even be a conversation worth having. But if he was available, if he does become a free agent, or if they want to sign him and do a sign-in trade, like tag him and do a sign-in trade, if I'm the Bears, am I listening? Absolutely 100% yes, without a question.
I don't, in regards to draft cap, I don't know if I'm willing to trade draft capital for a running back. Running back to me is just like, I do like Breece Hall. I think he's a good player.
It depends, but like, what about a second next year?
I'm not investing a lot. What if you could take your 2nd round pick and draft Price from Notre Dame?
Brennan, here's why it's good that if they franchise tag him or tender him and then they trade him, you're giving up a 2nd round pick, but his contract's already established, which means you can now keep him on the franchise tag for the year. And then next year during the offseason, you can work on a extension when the Bears are a much better situation in terms of salary space. I think next year the Bears are projected to be $60 million under the salary cap. Right now we're projected at $4 million over the salary cap. So if you could find a way to keep Breece Hall here on a 1-year deal and then talk contract extensions with him the second the year is over and try to keep him in Chicago before he hits free agency, Breece Hall is a special player to me, man. I think you watch what he does on that terrible dude. You guys, there's nothing to guard on the Jets. I mean, Garrett Wilson was hurt all season. There was nothing to guard, and this guy still fought his way to 4.5 yards per carry and over 1,000 yards rushing on that dog shit pile of shit team. There's no doubt in my mind that if you got Breece Hall,
was a really good player though.
But look at Saquon Barkley. I mean, Saquon Barkley's always been a good player, right? Amazing. Never had any complaints about Saquon. Giants fans love him. But the second he left the Giants, people were like, oh, he's amazing. The second he left the Giants and went to the Eagles, people were like, he's not amazing. He's a god. He's a god on a football field. He's Moby Dick in a goldfish bowl, bro. That's what I think.
Up
I'd be.
until last year.
Well, I mean, but look at that whole offense, bro. That whole offense just kind of. I think there's more to the Eagles than meets the eye. I think there's something going on behind the scenes that we're never going to know. But I'd like to get your guys' opinion in the chat here, man. It's going to be
based. Says $12 million a year for Etienne.
It's going to be, yeah, and the Bears have had connect ties to Etienne already. It's going to be Etienne, Hall, or Walker, if you ask me. If they do decide to move on from DeAndre Swift and they don't address the running back situation in the draft, it's probably going to end up being one of those three guys. So even if say they first, let's say if they're all going to make $15 million a year, all three of their salary was exactly the same. You guys, in the chat, who do you guys like the most? And I have a strong feeling that it's probably going to be Walker.
So Boogie says he likes Etienne more than Breece Hall.
Yes, that's actually probably he's one of the first people I've heard say that. I think most people prefer Hall, but I'm all ears, man. I like Travis Etienne a lot. We can go over Travis Etienne numbers as well, Brennan, if you like. I mean, this guy is no scrub. Travis Etienne has been damn good since he got at the NFL. The problem is, once again,
I watched that Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne team in Clemson, and I loved both those guys. And when they took them both in the first round, I thought Jaguars just did something really special. Unfortunately, for the first couple of years Etienne was there, he was kind of wasted. But yeah, Kyle, let's hear the numbers.
Yeah, so let's go over some stats. First of all, Etienne had eclipsed 1,000 yards in over 1,000 yards in three of his first four NFL seasons. So I think some of that stuff kind of gets forgotten because of the struggles of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Since he's been joined the NFL, Brennan, since he was drafted in 2021, he's played 66 games. He has 3,800 rushing yards. He has 168 catches for almost 1,400 receiving yards, 7 receiving touchdowns, and 25 rushing touchdowns. So that's one thing that this guy does a lot of, man. He scores touchdowns, and that's what you want on your team. Another thing about the last season, Etienne had 70 games, 260 carries, 1,100 rushing yards, 4.3 yards per carry, and he had a longest 71. So another guy has breakaway speed and 7 touchdowns. He also had 36 receptions for 300 yards and another 6 touchdowns. I mean, Brendan, so you're talking about this guy having 13, 14, 15 touchdowns almost a year, and a guy who's been on a team who, once again, is not special in any way, shape, or form. Listen, I don't hate the Jaguars, but they've had their struggles for sure. And Travis Etienne still seems to be the pillar of consistency there. I think both Travis Etienne and Breece Hall are better than DeAndre Swift. And once again, guys, that doesn't mean I don't like DeAndre Swift. No disrespect to the guy in any way, shape, or form. I love DeAndre Swift. I think he's a nice guy. I think he's a nice guy. But this is a guy that Ben Johnson shipped out of Detroit. Then Ben Johnson got here to Chicago, drafts a running back in the 7th round named Kyle Monangai. He ends up taking almost a lead role at one point in this season over DeAndre. So I just think it's a guy who's just fallen out of favor with this coaching staff. And I think they like DeAndre Swift. I think they just kind of have the same opinion that we do, Brennan. I just think they don't think he's special. And if they could upgrade that position and make this off, listen, Brennan, do you believe that the Bears can fix all of their defense?
Newcomer to the chat. Have you ever heard Sean Lugo?
I don't think I've ever heard of this guy.
He says, I've been laughed at for my love for Breece Hall. Dude's a stud and crush here.
Yeah, I like Breece Hall a lot, man. Listen, Sean probably has a higher opinion of Breece Hall than I do. I think Sean puts him in that upper echelon, maybe top 10 running backs in the NFL. And Sean, I don't want to speak for you, so if you're still here, please. But I don't think he's in that Saquon, Derrick Henry, Bijan Robinson, Christian McCaffrey conversation. But I think he's top 12, and DeAndre Swift usually finishes what, Brennan, in fantasy 18, 19, 20? And let's face it, guys, fantasy points are a direct result of your yards and your stats and your touchdowns. I mean, that's what it is. So, I mean, Hall and Etienne are better than Swift, no doubt about it. I think I prefer Hall. I prefer Hall, Brennan.
If you look at the coaches that Etienne has played under prior to Liam Cohen, it's about as bad as it gets. And we can talk about Matt Eberflus. They went from Urban Meyer to Doug Peterson. I mean, just talking about dysfunction. Liam Cohen took the 32nd ranked unit, Buccaneers, the run game, the Buccaneers, 32nd ranked unit, all the way to the 8th best unit in the league in one season. Then he went to Jacksonville and did the same damn thing. And I think that Travis Etienne is a guy who, when utilized in the proper way, is still the same player I watched at Clemson. And he's also a dual threat quarterback. The guy can catch the ball just as well as he can run it. And I think if he's cheaper than Hall, so guys, when you're comparing these two players, you got to look at cost as well. If he's cheaper than Hall and the Bears do want to replace DeAndre Swift and do it through free agency, Etienne makes more sense to me. He does more so than Brees Hall. He doesn't have the same 40 time.
Listen,
He's not
I
the same
understand.
physical specimen, but he's a bruising back, and he's a guy that can be effective in a scheme that's run well. And Ben Johnson had the third best scheme in the NFL when it came to running the football.
Yeah, and listen, Brennan, I understand the argument for both.
These
I understand.
guys will be good under a good scheme, and that's what Ben
And I
Johnson
think that's the
provides.
reason that the Bears have been tied to both of them, because I think that you look at what the style of running backs that they are, and people look at what Ben Johnson did with Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, and they're kind of both like, listen, David Montgomery's not as good of a pass catcher as Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously not, but David Montgomery's underrated as a pass catcher. I think both of those guys can do a little bit of everything, and I think that's the kind of running back that Ben Johnson wants here. Now, listen, DeAndre Swift had his best season in the NFL at running in between the tackles this past season for the Chicago Bears. And obviously part of that is due to the fact that the Bears just revamped the interior of that offensive line. And he looked, there was times, Brendan, where he looked like a bruiser. He looked like he was angry and running over people. But if I say DeAndre Swift, Brendan, you don't think of this bruising, do it all running back who can run between the
Downhill runner.
tackles,
He's
get out
not a
in space.
downhill runner.
Yeah, he's an open space guy. Brees Hall and Travis Etienne, to me, I think they can do whatever you ask. And I think it makes it easier for Ben Johnson to run his offense when the personnel on the field doesn't make him predictable. Burn real quick in the chat here. Slim Bo Boogie says, I love the name, by the way, man. He says Etienne had 13 total touchdowns last season, 15 if you include the playoffs. Yeah, that is nothing to be ashamed about, man. He said Etienne and Swift combined for 26 total touchdowns last season, would be the best duo in the NFL. So he's talking about maybe the possibility of keeping both of them here. Yeah, Relentless Mikey says, how can we pay more? Our cap room is not yeah, but remember, Mikey, last year the Chiefs were $36 million over the cap. They restructured a bunch of guys in their team and they ended up with $56 million. Something. You know the NFL, you know how these guys work. The Bears are going to free up a lot more salary cap than people think. First of all, you're talking about cutting Swift and Jermaine Edmonds, so you're talking about over $20 million alone just on those two players. Then you restructure Joe Tooney, Jonah Jackson, maybe Montez Sweat or Jalen Johnson, maybe 3 of the 4, 2 of the 4. You're talking about freeing up another $10-15 million. And then you're talking about
DJ Moore.
And then you're talking about there's guys on the roster that people aren't even considering right now cutting. But the
possibly
Bears
trading Cole Kmet.
The Bears just traded or just cut Amen Ogbongbemiga and saved themselves $2.1 million.
Nice. That's the first time we've got that.
How many more of those are coming? You know, there's more of those coming. Do you think Travis Homer's job is safe? Do you think all these guys' jobs are safe? Some of these guys are going to get cut. There's a lot of these guys going to get cut. You're going to free up more space than you think.
Better fucking not be safe.
If you're going to go put $60 million in running back like Brees Hall or Travis Etienne, then get rid of your backup running back and put Britton Brown on the active roster. Pay your
Brees Hall fan. There's a lot of Brees Hall fans in here, guys.
I don't know why you wouldn't
respect the player. He's a very physically gifted guy. And obviously, like
how it's pretty split, though. It's pretty split.
You grade Jets players on a curve, right? I mean, that's the way that has to work.
But let me get to some of these chats real quick. Sorry, they're just coming in so fast.
Daniel Jeffries. I haven't seen Daniel Jeffries in a long time.
What's up? First of all, what's up to everybody in the draft? Thanks for joining the show, guys. But Phil says, where do you think Jeremiah Love will get drafted? Phil, I think 100% he's a top 6, 7, 8 pick. I don't think
Tennessee said today they really like Jeremiah.
I don't think he's. I don't think he's. Well, Tennessee needs running back. I don't think he's getting out of the top 10. I don't think. But Burton, Tennessee's not. If they were, I think they might. Would you want to trade down? I don't know, man. These guys are talking about. There's a lot of Brees Halls, a couple Travis Etienne's in here, man. J2K says, I'm not a fan of free agent running backs. I'd rather draft a running back and 4 years later replace him with another draft running back. Hey, man, I don't disagree with that either, JK. J2K, you heard me talk about that on Wednesday's show. If you're going to replace, if you're not going to go out and get one of those big names like Brees Hall, Travis Etienne, I'm still cutting DeAndre Swift and going to draft DeAndre Swift because the guy who got 1,100 yards rushing last year and 300 yards receiving is certainly replaceable. And you don't have to, whoever you draft, you're paying $1 million instead of $8.5 million to.
Justin's related this a lot. When you have a coach in Ben Johnson who can scheme it up the way this was the third best rushing attack in the NFL, the Bears, not just because of the players on the roster, because that's just what Ben's going to do. He's going to make it easy on these guys. And you've got an offensive line up front that can clearly pave the way for you. So I think you could even, honestly, guys, you could probably take a mid-round pick at running back, plug him into your starting role, and it'll be 1,000-yard rusher. I believe that on this offense.
Yes, I agree.
That's the difference in a guy like Ben.
Sean says he believes both Hall and Etienne in good offenses are easily top 10 in the league. Yeah, but I mean, Sean, listen, I'm not disagreeing with Sean, but how many guys in better offenses would their ranking move up? I mean, we don't know what to expect from half these guys when they're in better offenses.
Well, look
like,
what happened.
only
Look
go
what
based
happened
off
with
of what
Bucky
they.
Irving when Liam Cohn left.
Yeah, I mean, Bucky Irving to me looked like a top 10 running back, and then he lost his offensive coordinator, and he's been dealing with injuries, and all of a sudden people have all these questions about him. I mean, listen, I'd take Gibbs over them. I'd take Derrick Henry over them. I'd take Saquon Barkley over them. I'd take Bijan Robinson over them. I'd take James Cook over them. There's a lot of
Jonathan
guys.
Taylor might be the best fucking
Jonathan
running
Taylor,
back
I
in
would
the NFL.
certainly take over them. There's a lot of guys I would take over them. It's tough to judge when they've been on offenses that are just putrid, and there's just nothing works in the offenses except for them. I'm not saying that they couldn't be top 10 running backs on good offenses. I'm just telling you from what I've watched, there's still probably 8 or 9 running backs I'd still probably rather take over Breece Hall and Travis Etienne. But it wouldn't surprise me at all if one of them got traded to the Eagles for a straight up trade with Saquon Barkley and Travis Etienne was a top 10 running back because that offensive line. Wouldn't surprise me in any way, shape, or form.
Daniel Jeffrey says, "Can we get some more miles from Swift? Load up on the defense first." Yeah, I don't think I don't think if you're going into next season with DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai at running back, I don't think you're going to suffer too much. I mean, like I said, this was the 3rd ranked unit in the league. So what you got is good enough. It's just how much better can it be? And
yeah,
there were a lot of games, guys, where it felt like you had to start depending on Caleb Williams, which is okay. I'm okay with it. Caleb Williams is my favorite player in the NFL. I think he's going to be I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I think he's going to be for sure. But you would love to see love to see the Bears be able to depend on the run when necessary. And I thought that was the one thing last season that sometimes kind of got lost by the wayside.
Yeah, listen, if the Bears, like, it's so hard to have these conversations without people thinking you're so far on one side or the other. If the Bears went on next season with DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai, am I like heartbroken? No, absolutely not. We had the 2nd or 3rd best rushing offense in the NFL. What I'm saying is,
I was crying about it before we
started. I believe Jahmyr Gibbs and Dave Montgomery are probably the best running back duo in the NFL. I believe Jahmyr Gibbs is somebody that the opposing defensive coordinators are planning around. Like, hey, we have to figure out a way to bottle up Jahmyr Gibbs. We cannot let him take over this game. If we do, we're going to lose. I don't believe DeAndre Swift is that type of player. I just don't. I don't think he's special. I think he's good. I think he could be dangerous in open space. And they certainly, it's not like, oh, well, we're playing the Bears and they have DeAndre Swift, so don't worry about that guy. But is DeAndre Swift is you ever going to see 221 yards and 3 touchdowns like Derrick Henry does sometimes, or like Jahmyr Gibbs? No, I don't think DeAndre, even on the best team playing the worst team, I don't think you're going to get that kind of game out of DeAndre Swift. I think his cap is like he had 140 yards and 2 touchdowns, and that's going to be his best game of the season. And that's not going to be the only time he does that.
And I'll precede this with this running back class, guys, is not the running back class from last year. It's not. But after watching Ben's ability to identify talent in late rounds like he did in Kyle Monangai, can you get a 3-down back in the 4th, 5th round? Is that possible?
It's happened before. I mean, it's not unheard of. But
DeAndre Swift is not a 3-down back.
I mean, but what was Bucky Irving?
We keep saying, like, oh, he's good. Like, is Swift good? He'd be good enough. He'd be good enough. Like, I don't dislike Swift. Swift's like, I don't hate, but he's not a 3-down back, guys. He's not a 3-down back. Swift needs Swift succeed. Swift had the best season Swift's ever had because Kyle Monangai made the impact he did as a rookie. Swift needs that.
And the offensive line and Ben Johnson. I mean, listen, Swift's a good player.
But he needs a spell. He needs a spell.
Well, 100%. Phil says consistency is key for these guys. I bet they average over 24 points a game. Well, yeah, they averaged 26 points a game this year, Phil. So I would expect to be closer to 30 this year for sure. Brennan, I don't know if I've ever seen this name here before. It's a Chicago Clubhouse. Hey, guys, bear down. Anyone in the combine you have an eye on yet?
I feel like I've jumped into a Facebook group that's named Chicago Clubhouse.
Yeah, well, if you're at Chicago Clubhouse, please go check out our Barely There podcast on Wednesdays. We talk about all of everybody coming out in the draft. We've already done linebackers, defensive ends, and defensive tackles. We do it each position each week. Go check those shows out. There's a ton of guys that we love on the defensive side of the ball.
Thanks for joining us, brother.
Yeah, we appreciate you, man. Thank you very much for joining the show.
Hold on, guys. Hold on. Did it play?
No, I didn't hear anything. But And then another thing,
Just a quick one. That's for you, bud.
conversation about the draft.
Hit that like and subscribe, please.
Reach out to J2K, man, because that guy knows his shit when it comes to the draft.
Sean might join us for a show. We might.
Sean says there's also a huge difference in selling those guys and making them top 5 to where they are right now. They were not the top 5 in their current situations. Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't disagree with you. I would love to see the potential of Breece Hall or Travis Etienne on the Bears. Unfortunately, we may not see it. We might see what they look like on a different team. But yeah, I mean, if Breece Hall goes to the Titans, am I going to pick him to be a top 10 running back? Probably not. Just me personally, I just don't think.
We've had this conversation for multiple weeks.
There are a lot of 3 and outs and shit going on over there.
Is it just set in stone that Etienne is not going to be retained by Jackson?
Well, I think they've already basically announced they're not going to franchise tag him. So yeah, he's going to be free.
That Tootin guy really underwhelmed.
Well, he's going to be a free agent. I'm almost positive Travis Etienne's going to be a free agent.
The kid they drafted did not impress.
Yeah, Brennan, Phil says Swift doesn't strike fear in your heart in the open field. Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Well, he does beat me, but I'm not an NFL linebacker. He'd probably just jump over me. And I'm
Brennan, we have a new joiner here, Deacon Mike. I think he's been in here before.
Yeah, Deacon Mike was here Thursday. What's up, Deacon?
I mean, I'm joiner in the chat. I'm not saying he's never been here before. He's new to the chat. He just got here, but he says, "Hey, good evening, boys. Can you guys FedEx me some Illuminati's pizzas?" Hey, Deacon, let me tell you something, man. Since Illuminati's went national, not nearly as good as it used to be. If you get a chance, you come to the Chicagoland area.
Whoa! This is Dustin works for these guys.
Sorry,
this is a future sponsor.
Right. I'll say this, Brandon. There's 2 by my house that are not very good. They somehow always seem to screw things
There's
up.
a restaurant. There's one out here by where I live, and it's a full blown restaurant. It's not one of those go in and pick up.
See, I go to the
and they have a nice bar, man. So really nice. It's not cheap. It's a really nice bar.
Listen, I like Illuminati's. They're still my top 3. They're the Illuminati's downtown.
You go to Illuminati's for the liquor.
The originals are absolutely amazing. The ones downtown are absolutely phenomenal. I will say this though: if you come out here anytime soon, Deacon, if you go to Cary, Illinois, so it's right by you're talking about right side Dundee, Algonquin, that area. There's a place called Uncle Jerry's Pizza. It's right across the street from Trax Burgers. 2 famous restaurants in Cary. Trax Burgers. It was David Portnoy's #1 in Chicago, or Uncle Jerry's Pizza. David Portnoy's #1 in Chicago. It's absolutely phenomenal. If you get a chance, you come out here, man. Go check it out. Anybody in the chat, if you guys haven't been there yet, it's in Cary, Illinois.
For those who haven't, Pequod's is a must.
And yeah, Pequod's is amazing. Listen,
and Morton Grove, not the city Pequod's.
It's like Illuminati's now is like comparing like Metallica's music now to other bands. Like Metallica's still better than like Taylor Swift to me. But Metallica is not better than Metallica or the first 4 CDs. I think Illuminati is kind of going through the same transition. Relentless Mikey says, after Jeremiah Love, the running backs drop off significantly in the draft. Yeah, there's a couple guys Sean has talked about that he really likes in this draft coming up, guys. But I think one of them is actually Jeremiah Love's backup in Notre Dame. I think Sean loves that guy. Price. I think his name's Price.
If Price were to remain in college for another year, he'd be the best running back in college football.
Yeah,
I don't get that kid in the second round.
I haven't heard a ton. Yeah,
you jump all over that.
Says Price is good. I haven't heard a ton about the running backs in this draft outside of Jeremiah Love. I'll tell you that right now. From an outside perspective, and a guy who hasn't really looked at offense this year because I've done so much time, spent so much time studying the defense, the draft. I have not heard a lot of names in the first 2 rounds when it comes to running back. Slim Bo Boogie says Shmar Turner is unknown. If he can be an impact player, that's sleeper in the trenches. Yeah, we talked about that on this podcast, man. I agree with you 100%.
You're going to start worrying about health. He had a major injury in college. He's now an injury here.
I like what I saw from him, but yeah, your best ability is availability. So
I love that.
Find a way to stay in the field. I like Shmar Turner a lot. Thoughts on Shmar Turner impact coming off the injury? I think if he can stay healthy,
like and subscribe. Join us for this conversation.
I think if he could stay healthy, he's going to be a damn good rotational piece. Do I think he's like Aaron Donald in the middle? No. But if he stays healthy, do I think he can have a major impact for them and take a lot of stress off guys like Grady Jarrett and Javon Dexter? Yes, 100%.
Well, and he can take Slimbo Boogie. I think he can take stress off of any person playing on this line because the guy can play inside and out for sure.
Sorry, Romy. I didn't. These chats are coming in so fast. It's tough to keep up with all the stuff. But yeah,
even though Kyle speaks like you've got your YouTube play on double speed.
Yeah, I remember Slim. Shmar Turner was drafted by Dennis Allen, so obviously he's going to be a part of the future here because Dennis Allen didn't draft any of these other defensive linemen.
Very versatile.
One he drafted was Shmar Turner, so that's the guy he likes. True Pilgrim says Mikey Price is as good as Love, in my opinion. I need to go watch more video on Price because I haven't.
He's good.
People keep
He's
telling me how
very
amazing
good.
this guy is, and I don't think I've even seen a snap of his. So I'm gonna go check him
Towards
out.
the end of last year's college season, he looked like the real deal, man. I'll say that. And he's
Yeah.
I said this on the bare minimum a couple weeks ago, guys. Every team in the NFL is very fortunate that Price was playing behind the best running back in college football because
Yeah,
it
but Brennan,
probably would have been that. And now
does
he'll
this
fall. He's not going to be drafted in the first round.
this
And if
this
you get
sounds
yourself
this
a
sounds
Price,
eerily similar to
if you
Bears
say
fans.
Roshan Johnson, I'm punching you in the face.
Yeah, that sounds eerily similar to Bears fans. Like, well, Roshan just had to back up Bijan, so he couldn't really see his full potential, and Roshan sucked. So I don't know how I feel about that. Brennan B Dog says, here y'all, but I don't think we need a 3-down running back. We know
No, I
Ben
don't
likes
need
to
to
get
punch you in
creative
the
and look for
face.
explosiveness throughout the game. He's not the type of head coach to just go with the flow of the game. Yeah, B Dog, I don't think he needs one. I mean, we saw it last year. The Bears were one of the best top 10 offenses in the NFL, but I don't think it hurts to have a Jameer Gibbs or a Saquon Barkley or a Bijan Robinson on your team, right? Like, if you have the opportunity to go get one of those guys, I would certainly consider
And
it.
I think I think it's less about using a guy every down like a workhorse. That's not what a 3-down back in the NFL even is anymore. Every NFL team spells their backs. You want a guy though that you don't have to take off the field for a specific reason, playing a role in particular, and B, you become far less predictable.
Yeah, for sure.
If you've
Like,
got the
Kyle
speed
Malone
guy
is
and
not
you've
catching a
got the
50-yard
power guy,
pass, right? Like,
yeah, if you've
that.
got the speed guy and the power guy and you're putting them on the field during design runs, it makes it a lot easier on the defense to figure out what's going on.
Brennan Slim says Odafe away a pass rush specialist for age that can't stop the run, but I think I'm pretty sure Odafe is getting franchise tagged. But please do me a favor, bud, check it out. But I'm almost positive that he's going to be franchise tagged. Mike or Deacon, where do you live, man? Where do you live at? If it's anywhere south, the pizza's definitely not going to be as good as it is here. But you can usually find some diamonds in the rough everywhere you go. Yeah, True Pilgrim says this running back is not as good as last year, but it's still deep. Yeah, there's plenty of talent there. I just don't know if there's like a necessarily game changer. So you would only move on from Swift if you felt like somebody. Well, either if you're just trying to cut that contract and replace him with basically the same thing, or if you think there's somebody a lot better than him, right? If not, why not just keep Swift? Mikey's a huge fan of Luz. He says Luz is the best. Listen, Mike, I love Luz. I grew up on Illuminati's. Brennan knows my family used to order that basically every Sunday. That was like our treat of the week. We all loved Illuminati's growing up. I just have noticed since they open a ton more stores, especially the stores that are solely carry out, the quality is just not the same for me personally. That doesn't mean I won't eat Illuminati's any day of the week because I love it, but Jalen Phillips, guys, is another guy who I'm almost positive. Slim, go check it out. I'm almost positive he is on the franchise tag list.
This is going to be weird, guys, but if you go to Illuminati's, just trust me on this. Just get garlic, just fresh garlic. Don't do anything else. Just fresh garlic. Try it. Let me know what you think.
Phil, I'm with you, man. I think the Bears, when it comes to free agency or draft, I think defensive tackles should be at the top of the list. I think that's the quickest way to fix this defensive line. I understand that their defensive ends aren't world beaters and they're not the best in the NFL, but I think they would look a lot better if the quarterback couldn't step up in the pocket on every single pass. You got to start.
I've been preaching this, and
Yeah, you
I
got to
think
start creating pressure, man, in the
I
middle.
think even a 3-tech would look better if you actually had a guy on this roster that could consume 2 blocks, because they don't. And that is the purpose that player is. The 1-tech needs to consume 2 blocks, and he needs to fill gaps, and that they don't have that guy. I went over the stuff numbers last week on bare minimum. We're just lacking a lot, guys, up front.
Yeah, J2K is bringing up some running backs to the draft. You guys, if you get a chance, reach out to J2K personally. He knows this.
Did he say 6'7" in a fucking chat just now?
7th round, bro.
I know.
That's stupid shit you're talking.
It's a joke.
Yeah, once again, Slim.
I have a child, so
Slim, check it out for me, man. But I'm almost positive both the guys you're talking about, obviously not Cassius Howell, but Jalen Phillips and Owe are both going to be franchise tagged. I read that somewhere the other day. I didn't
It'd
really
be dumb to trade for Phillips not to bring him back. I don't understand why a team would do that.
Yeah, he said
he traded for? Wasn't Phillips acquired like halfway through the season?
Yeah, by the Eagles. James says, I believe they tried Turner inside and it didn't work out. Allen said they will move him outside. Yeah, I think he's probably going to. I think everybody, the goal for Dennis Allen, I believe, is for everybody in the defensive line to be kind of somebody who can stunt
Turner
inside.
can play everywhere.
I think he wants people who can play. That's basically what he did in New Orleans for 6 years. Everybody played everywhere.
When you got a guy who can play everywhere, because like Austin Booker's not going to play inside for you. When you got a guy who can play everywhere,
I don't do drugs, man. I promise. Bearskin.
You should. If a guy can play inside now,
You telling me I should do drugs, bro?
it's a talent that a lot of players in the NFL don't provide. You should use that guy in every way that you can. Where the Bears do have some restrictions with guys like Montez Sweat and Austin Booker. Those are pure edge players.
Phil says, when does free agency start? Is it right after the combine?
Did
Phil,
somebody just call you out for talking fast?
Yeah, Phil, I believe. Don't
Yeah,
quote
you
me.
guys. There's a setting on YouTube you can slow down the playback speed.
Phil, I believe, guys, sometimes we have a ton of stuff to jam into these shows, not to mention trying to listen, I'm not complaining about this because I absolutely love you guys, but trying to keep up with these chats sometimes becomes taxing. Phil says, when does free agency start? I believe it's March 12th is the tampering period, maybe March 9th, but don't quote me, Phil. I know it's early to middle March is when free agency begins,
Don't tempt me, Phil.
but don't quote me. Vernon Crook Commission says, did you guys hear room about the trade DJ for Thibodeau? Yeah, that would be a terrible trade for the Bears.
Listen, that's not a rumor, Crook Commission. That is something that Harrison Graham did on his show, and it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Thibodeau's
and for many reasons.
Worse. People complain about sweat. Thibodeau has like 4 sacks a year, bro.
And for many reasons, but the one most glaring that just doesn't make. If you're trading DJ Moore, it is to shed some cap space. You're trying to get rid of money because DJ Moore's a phenomenal player. The Bears love him. Caleb loves him. Ryan Poles loves him. I don't know if they're apparently not talking in the offseason. Ryan Poles loves him. But why would you trade for a player who you in turn have to pay a contract to? That made no sense. I don't know why Harrison Graham did that to himself, incriminating himself. What a stupid proposal. Let's get rid of this cap space for this guy that we're gonna have to pay hundreds of it doesn't fucking make sense.
Yeah,
it makes no sense.
For a guy who, if you look at where he was drafted, it has been disappointing.
And J2K said, I don't like free agent running backs. Guys, you know what I don't like? The Bears did this with Montez Sweat. I don't like trading for players that are owed a contract because your hand, like I just said with Phillips, the Eagles, you're handcuffing yourself. If you're gonna give draft capital away or a good player away for a guy who's owed money, you just guaranteed yourself to owe that guy money. Like you have to fuck. What if you trade DJ Moore for Thibodeau and then you're like, oh, he was here for a year, but we're not gonna re-sign him. He's owed a lot of money. What's the fucking point?
Yeah, which is what happened with Kyle Tucker and the Cubs, and I don't want to see that shit again.
It's right? We just lost Cam Smith.
Eagles franchise tag candidate is Nakobe Dean or Dallas.
There's a speed up button too.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're franchise tagging Jalen Phillips. But listen, Slim, I might be wrong. It's early in the process here, but I'm pretty sure they're franchise. But yeah, Mike says
Kyle's former job was a fucking auctioneer. Yeah. 35.
I could do it. I could fucking do it. I could definitely do that.
I bet. Even auctioneers would be like, what is he
Mike
saying?
says we need to slow down one guy and speed up the other guy when speaking. Resembles being a professor.
I'm not speeding up, kid. Not a chance. I was born this way.
Bernard, one thing I want to talk about.
Brain damage.
We've gone through a ton of the chats here. One thing I want to talk about. Okay, and once again, guys, we appreciate you guys putting those chats now. I'm not complaining about it. They're just, for some reason, they're lagging. So I'm getting like 30 at the same time, and then nothing will happen. And then all of a sudden 30 at the same time. So it's very tough for me to go back and try to get all you guys involved in the conversation. But we absolutely love you guys, and we appreciate every single chat you guys post. It keeps this conversation interesting. One thing I do want to talk about really quick, guys, really quick, and then we can move on to something else, Brendan. But the stadium deal has come basically to a standstill here. Now I know that the Bears have to do that. The Bears have to have an answer for Indiana by the 27th of February because that is their legislative date. I think this entire thing was all a ploy, negotiating tactic to get the Bears a lower tax bracket in Arlington Heights. First of all, second of all, I want to know what you guys think about this because I haven't been able to find a credible source, but there are numerous people now saying that when Kevin Warren released that statement about the Bears moving to Indiana, and we look forward to working with the legislator in the future, and we could consider a name change from the Chicago Bears to the Midwest Bears and all that stuff that came out. And Brendan, Kevin Warren did release those statements. They're on the Bears website. You can go look at them. A lot of people are saying George McCaskey was absolutely furious that those statements were released, and his goal is to keep this team in Indiana or in Illinois. So, Brendan, first and foremost, do you believe that all this stuff with Indiana was just to get Illinois to come down and meet the Bears halfway? And B, Do you think that any of this stuff is true, or do you think that George McCaskey probably is a little pissed off at Kevin Warren for going behind his back and posting something that he did not approve?
You said first and B, but I do think that the Bears want to
Yeah,
remain.
I don't. Yeah, fuck off.
I do think that the Bears want to remain in the state of Illinois. I think they're the Chicago Bears. It's one of the oldest iconic names in sports, not just any NFL, in sports. And I think that George Halas's direct descendant, that is George McCaskey, would love to remain in the state of Illinois. I don't know that they're mad at one. I don't know that McCaskey's mad at Warren. I do believe this. I said this on the bare minimum, guys. I'm going to stick by this. I think that Kevin Warren is very much advocating inside those closed doors, those meetings that we're never a part of, that they should move to Indiana because of the financial benefits. And McCaskey is the guy who's holding on to hope to remain here in the state of Illinois. That's what I.
Well, and I
they're
heard
split, Kyle. I do. I think they're split.
I heard today, Brendan, that this Chicago, Cook County, was like, "Hey, Bears, we'll revamp Soldier Field for $630 million. Do you guys want to stay here?" Like, Brendan Johnson, give it up, man. They're not staying in the city of Chicago. That is absolutely. I can tell you. I don't know what's going to happen, but I can tell you what's not going to happen. They are not going to stay downtown on the lakefront in the city of Chicago. They want their own property. They want part of the parking sales. They want
to be non-regulated
concession sales. They want part of everything because they're the reason all of those sales are made. So they want a part of all of it. And you know what? Anybody who thinks that the Caskies are being greedy this is standard in sports, guys. Everybody who owns a sports team, generally they get a majority of all the sales that come from the sports jersey sales. We talk about concession sales. You talk about parking sales. The Bears get none of it, and they're done with it. They're done with it. And Mike, I agree with you 100%, man. I think they're going to Arlington Heights. I think that's what they were doing the entire time. I think the whole Indiana thing was leverage. The only thing that made me a little weary, Mike, was when Kevin Warren came out with that statement that was like, "You guys, we're open to changing our team name to the Midwest Bears. It doesn't have to be Chicago." That's when I was like, whoa. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised at all if they originally used Indiana as a negotiating tactic, and then Indiana started offering them all this stuff, and they were like, "Man,
right? Doesn't it feel like it started as a joke?"
Yeah, and then they're like, "The more we talk to these guys, the more we like it." Like
it felt like it started as a joke, and then it was like, "All right, well, I mean, we'll listen."
I mean, you guys want to you guys want to build our stadium for us and charge us $1 for it?
The Hammond Grizzlies. Good Lord.
I said the pride and joy of Northwest Indiana. Tell Warren to go chew on a pencil, send his ass back to Minnesota. I love it. Listen,
I do think this, Kyle. I do think this. We can say this from our perspective. I think the fan base is very much starting to think Kevin Warren is a useless fucking monologue. That's what I think. What's up, Scott?
I can't disagree, but I also, guys, I'd be lying to you if I sat here and told you I knew exactly what was happening in these meetings with state legislators and tax brackets and I don't
shovels in the ground.
I know that I've heard that if the Bears wanted to stay downtown Chicago, their property tax number every year would be like $150 million, which is just that's insane. That's not acceptable. And the highest in the NFL right now is the LA Rams. LA Rams at 8.9 million. So 150 million. This deficit is too large. I think that Chicago is doing that to kind of force the Bears into spending all the money on the infrastructure and the stadium. And now that they're starting to get some of this language cleaned up and they're starting to get some of the stuff out of the way, I think they're starting to get down to like the really nitty gritty details of staying in Arlington Heights. I don't blame the Bears for not trying to give JB Pritzker any leverage at all, because I think the guy's an absolute total tool. And should not. I think that's part of the reason why the Bears would even consider leaving Illinois is because of Illinois politicians. I think they're all just kind of corrupt, greedy scumbags. And I think if they had it their way, the Bears would stay in Illinois, but be dealing with Indiana legislator, because Illinois is just such a joke. But I don't necessarily blame the Bears for considering getting out of it. You guys, let's see. The Boeing, their main office is gone. They're no longer in Chicago. Caterpillar is no longer in Chicago. There was a couple other companies.
Morton Salt.
A couple other teams or companies. I think wasn't Starbucks at one point. Their headquarters.
There's like 6 or 7 of them that
major all left Chicago under JB Pritzker. So you guys, like, I can't sit here and pretend I know more about business than those guys. Like, they obviously know what they're doing, and they're like, man, this is a terrible city to own a multi-billion-dollar business, and let's get the hell out of here. the Bears are probably just thinking the same way. They're thinking with their business mind. I'm not necessarily opposed to it, but it would be heartbreaking for Bears fans to be the pride and joy of, we're from Indiana, we're going to move. Like, there's nothing good about Indiana.
Fucking Midwest Grizzlies. Oh,
Okay.
this emoji
sounds unnatural.
Listen,
it doesn't flow off the tongue.
I think, who was it? Mike, Deacon Mike said it. You own 347 or 50. What does it go? 353.
You just paid $198 million for that shit.
353 acres in the state of Illinois. It doesn't make sense not to reside on the property that you just purchased, and you could build yourself. I mean, you guys saw these blueprints. This is Bears City. This is Bears City. Arlington Heights would just be known as Chicago Bears. I'm going. I got a job. Just got a new job out there in Chicago Bears. Like, that's what you could make this better than the Cowboys did Dallas. You could make this better than Green Bay did after they bought all that property around them, and pretty much flip that thing into like an entire city in itself. The Bears could make a lot of money, provide a lot of jobs, and put a lot of money back into the community that is Arlington Heights. It would benefit the state of Illinois just the same as it would the Bears. That's why these guys running the state are a bunch of morons. You're talking about thousands of jobs that have never even been discussed. When you're asking Pritzker and Johnson these questions, like thousands and thousands of tens of thousands of jobs for people, guys. Like that is nothing but benefit your state. And these guys are playing hardball as if they've got some leverage left. Like, just stop.
Yeah, Brian, in the chat pretty much agree. Everybody in the chat here is pretty much saying this is Pritzker's a joke. The Bears are going to end up in Arlington Heights. This has all just been a negotiating tactic. Yeah,
Bags
he said
of douche indeed.
Somebody here said that the property taxes in Arlington Heights are an absolute joke, and they're just trying to figure that out before they move there. I think it was Romy, or no, it was a Scottish Bear. I agree with you, Scottish. I think that Chicago just gave them this huge, massive number to kind of scare them away. And the Bears are like, right, you guys, sit down and talk to us. Let's be realistic.
You don't got to tax.
150 million property taxes is ridiculous.
I don't know if Denise is still watching. You don't got to tax teachers. You can tax food and beverage the same as Indiana proposed, right? Indiana proposed that we'll tax food and beverage. You know, all the Indiana citizens are going to pay a little more for their liquor and a little more for their food. And the Bears could do the same exact thing here. Like, it's so. And I don't know that Pritzker's going to pitch it. I just don't know. And what bothers me, guys, what really bothers me about this, and we talked about this on Thursday, is you've got these guys who are, getting the ball rolling. They know the end date for their legislative session is the 27th. So they already passed it through the House. They've already passed it. The Congress has already taken care of this fucking bill. And the Bears haven't even proposed it. Or sorry, Illinois hasn't even proposed it.
But the difference is, and I agree with you, Brennan, but the difference is the Illinois legislature ends on, I think it's March 15th. So they have more time in Illinois than they do.
But they should have already brought this to the attention of the House and the Senate.
Just 3 years ago. 3 years ago.
Yes.
I remember, Brennan, when the hotel taxes were first implemented by the Pritzker family, that was supposed to be a stadium tax. That's what it was for building or improving sports stadiums across Chicago. And then one day the Pritzkers just decided that that's not a thing anymore, and it's their money and nobody else can touch it. And it all belongs to the Park District and the city of Chicago. Listen, it's all just politics. I'm with you guys. I have a headache from talking about it. I'm sick of it. Every time there's news we're going to mention on the podcast, we're Chicago Bears podcast, we have to talk about some of these things. I don't like talking about it. I'd much rather talk about the Bears and the team and the roster and the coaching staff, but just something I found interesting today, that just more drama on the stadium thing and more drama. And from what I understand, the drama between George McCaskey and Kevin Warren is real. I don't know if they some people are like, oh, they absolutely hate each other. I don't think it's like that. I think George McCaskey was probably just really frustrated that he wasn't more involved in the situation or the conversation. And he just let Kevin Warren know that. And somehow some outside, somebody was a fly in the room and started talking about that meeting. I find it interesting because as an NFL fan, it's tough to really understand what exactly it is that Kevin Warren does for the Chicago Bears outside of overseeing, the GM hire, coaching hire stuff, personnel decisions, money, stuff like that. But he was brought here to build a stadium in Arlington Heights, and it still hasn't happened. So it's time for them to get their head out of their ass and start doing that.
Kevin Warren. I mean, I do think Kevin Warren has impacted the culture in Chicago, but he walked into an office with a stadium proposal on his desk. Like, this is what you're here for. I mean, what are we going on 4 years now, Kyle? I mean, this is fucking ridiculous.
For Kevin Warren, it's only what two,
Two?
two,
Is it
three,
two?
two,
Is it
two
three?
or
I
three,
think three.
three. I think he just finished his
I
third.
think this, yeah, this will be his fourth. Get the ball, and the shovels in the ground thing. If I hear that one more time, like this guy has got to start doing something and like getting the ball rolling on this. And I don't know if the Indiana thing is like you said, Kyle, I don't know if the Indiana is even something we should take seriously. But at the end of the
All right,
day,
well,
guys, all eyes go back to one person. That is Kevin Warren. And I do want to stop hearing George McCaskey is pissed. We heard this when Matty Rufus was failing miserably as a head coach. George McCaskey is really upset with the results, but he doesn't do anything. And every time I see the guy, I'm like, that guy pissed. It's a giant fucking teddy bear, no pun intended.
Bert, there's one more thing we wanted to talk about before.
Yeah, let's divert this towards.
So you know it's interesting, guys. I've been reading a lot of articles on the Bears lately, and Sean's mentioned this in a couple shows. It seems like a lot of people are picking the Bears to be the team that misses the playoffs next year, the team that won their division. Like
How
first 2
long
years.
just said the Packers are the team to beat?
Yeah, and a lot of
Today.
people are just discrediting what they did because they said they're the lucky team last year, and most of those wins were luck. It's funny to me though because some of those same writers and same people are putting Caleb Williams pretty high in the MVP conversation.
They
So,
are a freaking joke, Phil. They are a freaking joke.
Brandon, like, explain this to me. If the Bears had the MVP quarterback in the NFC, how could you possibly pick them not to be at least a fringe playoff team? Now, listen, I know everybody's going to bring up the same thing. Joe Burrow. The Bears defense is bad. It ain't that bad, guys. It ain't that bad. It's not the Bengals bad. If the Bears have a MVP quarterback on their team this season, I have a strong feeling they're repeating their a little playoff run here. Am I crazy in saying that, Brent?
No. Dennis Allen will right the ship. The Bengals defense has been egregious for years, and I don't listen.
Good point, James.
I don't want to go into a rant. What is luck? What is luck, guys? Define luck. Is luck a thing? It's the same as karma. Like it's made up. It's a social construct. It doesn't exist. So when a team consists, like people were telling me after 2 or 3 fourth quarter deficits, the Bears team's real lucky. And then they did it for like 8 weeks in a row, and people are like, this Bears team's real. No, I think it's just them. And I think they're really good at making halftime adjustments. I think they're really good at halftime adjustments, and they're beating the coaches across from them in every second half they play. I don't find that to be luck. I think Caleb is plus 1,600 J2K. Plus 1,600 right now.
I'll throw money on that. No doubt about it. I'll throw money on that, dude. Listen, first of all, let's talk. First, both the AFC and NFC get an MVP, guys. You saw it last year, Matthew Stafford, or not both the AFC and NFC. But, so listen, Brennan, if you're rookie of the year, sorry, give me, Brennan, I'm going to give you a list. I'm going to give you a quarterback. You tell me if you take Caleb Williams over them. Okay, you ready? Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
And don't be biased. Be real, based off of what they've done in their career and based off the trajectory of their career.
Yeah, what they've done in their career, that's Jalen Hurts. But like, I think Caleb's a better quarterback.
Combined with what they're going to do in the future. Yeah. So obviously you take the Super Bowl, but Jalen Hurts and that offense seem to be sputtering out of control. Jared Goff.
Caleb.
Okay. Matthew Stafford.
That one's tough.
That's tough. That's to me, that's the tough. And who won the MVP?
Was it Stafford?
Yeah. So I mean, that's the guy. Of course, he'd be the guy. He'd be this guy in this conversation where you're like, yeah, that one's tough. But
I don't know that Stafford's
Jaden Daniels.
Caleb.
Bryce Young.
Caleb.
Jordan Love.
Caleb.
Okay, let's go to the other side. Drake May.
Caleb.
Yeah, if you think about that Super Bowl performance, I'm sorry, I'm leaning. This is not a bias, but I'm leaning Caleb Williams off how bad he was in the playoffs last year.
When they had a cakewalk schedule.
CJ Stroud.
Caleb. You want to talk about flash in the pan seasons? That guy's rookie
season
might be the biggest joke ever.
How about this? Tell me the guys you wouldn't take, or you would not take Caleb Williams over. So how about Josh Allen?
Right now, Josh Allen.
Lamar Jackson.
Probably Lamar Jackson, yeah.
Joe Burrow.
Barring health, Burrow, but like Caleb stays on the field.
Patrick Mahomes.
Mahomes.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is maybe if you could include Stafford with the 4 guys you just said, you'd take over Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is either 5 or 6 in the list of quarterbacks in your opinion right now. Guys you would like to build your team around going forward in the future. Why, if that's the case, and if you watch most of these podcasts, most of those people agree with you. And like I said, even the same people hating on the Bears, the people are like, oh, the Bears are going to make the playoffs next year, are like, oh, Caleb Williams should definitely be in the MVP conversation. Why couldn't Caleb Williams be the MVP? This is almost the same conversation we have with Derrick Rose. Do you
Caleb
remember
Williams
this?
is going to be the MVP.
Do you remember this conversation with Derrick Rose? Do you remember this? When we all Bulls fans were like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. He's like the best point guard since Allen Iverson. This guy should be in the MVP conversation. And then the more people talked about it, the more it picked up steam. And then they actually asked Derrick Rose in an interview at one point. They were like, do you believe you could be the MVP of this league? And he was like, yes. And they were like, why? He's like, why
He
not?
said, I don't see
Why not? Why
That's
can't
what
I
he
be
said.
the MVP of this league? And what did he do, Brennan? He won the MVP. If I
And he
believe,
was the best player in basketball.
I believe that if you increased Caleb Williams' statistics last year by just a little bit, Brennan, say a few games here and there where he struggled. If you get rid of those games and he has a couple more Sam Fran-like games where he just absolutely explodes and has amazing football games, I think if he would have had a couple more of those last year, based off of the drama around the Chicago Bears and how often their name was in the national media, Chicago Bears, based off of what Caleb did on 3rd down and in the 4th quarter alone. I mean, you're talking about like the miracle games, the 7 come from behind victories. I think Caleb would have been in the MVP conversation last year if he would have reached, if he would have hit that 4,000 mark and 30 touchdown mark.
He received a vote or something. That was reported. Like somebody voted for Caleb Williams.
If he gets over 4,000 yards and he gets over 30 touchdowns, I think it's between him, Drake May, and Matthew Stafford. I think it's between the 3. I think I think he would have had 5, 6, 7 votes for MVP last year. So why would you not assume that in another year in the same offense with Ben Johnson? Oh yeah, and by the way, guys like Colston Loveland, Luther Burden are only going to get better around him. Why are people so awestruck when Bears fans say, I think Caleb Williams is going to be in that MVP conversation last year or next year?
I believe that Caleb Williams will be the MVP, and I say that not because I'm a Caleb Williams fan, and I am, not because I'm a Bears fan, but because who is if you're looking at who the most valuable player to a football team is, you could arguably have said Caleb was this year, because if Caleb Williams doesn't produce guys, it's not, we talk about the completion percentage and Drake made the structure. It's the other stuff that nobody else can do that won this team football games week in and week out. It's the running 35 yards backwards to throw a 55-yard dime like that. Players in the NFL, it's when Caleb was asked about it, like, how do you do this stuff? How do you throw off platform? How do you arm throw off platform 55 yards and put it on the spot? He said, it's God-given. It's God-given talent. I don't have any other explanation.
Another thing.
Most players don't have that. Josh Allen and Caleb Williams, I find to be pretty comparable. I wouldn't even put Mahomes in the conversation. When you're talking about the improvisation, the stuff, the out of structure stuff, the ability to make a play when things aren't going right, I think that won the Bears a lot of games this year, Kyle. I think if Caleb didn't have that ability to play the hero ball, to do the things when things break down, when players are most under pressure, when the stakes are at their highest, Caleb seems to play his best.
Yeah,
that makes him the most valuable player to me, because most quarterbacks in those moments fold. They fold.
And here's another thing that I want to talk about that a lot of people overlook when it comes to the MVP. Now, listen, I don't know. I know the writers are the guys who vote on all these awards, and I don't know what each one of them individually is critiquing these players on. But I'll tell you this: I think statistics are focused on too much. When you're talking about the most valuable player, you're talking about the guy who is the most valuable to his team. That doesn't mean he threw the most touchdowns in the NFL. That doesn't mean he threw the most passing yards in the NFL. Like Brennan, if it was based off of statistics, then last year, not this past 2025 season, but 2024, it would have been Joe Burrow. The guy threw nearly 50 touchdowns and 5,000 yards. He had much better stats than Josh Allen. But Josh Allen, if you took him off his team and replaced him with an average quarterback, They are not anywhere near the same
They're
team.
winning like 4
The
games.
Bengals probably would have had
Especially
around
on
the
that team.
same amount of wins if Jake Browning would have started all year, 7, 8. I think Joe Burrow had 9. They probably would have had, what, 6, 7? So it wouldn't have been that much of a difference. What you're talking about is, can you replace the productivity of that player if he gets injured? Or do you have this? Does your team continue to play the same? No. The answer is no. Caleb Williams, that throw to Cole Kmet, the throw to DJ Moore to win the Packers game, the throw to Cole Kmet in the Rams game. There's just one guy in the NFL.
Roma Dunze, completely in the air.
One guy in the NFL who can do it, and people say, "Oh, so that should be a knock of his because he always has to play hero ball, and the Bears get down too early to put themselves in bad situations." Yeah, but it doesn't. At the end of the day, like Bernie, like you said, when it comes to the clutch time, third down, fourth quarter, last drive of the game, if you can say to yourself, "Well, if Caleb's on the field, we're winning this game." We know for a fact if you give him a minute and 10 seconds, one timeout, the Bears are winning this game. And he just continues to do it time and time.
Because if you can think back to the players that you thought that, being a Bears fan, when you were playing the opposing teams, what players did that? The best players in the NFL, like Peyton Manning's and Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady.
The guys we've always watched and wanted.
You left them 38 seconds. You left them way too much time. With 38 seconds on the clock, that's way too much time for Aaron Rodgers.
Lifetime that the Bears have had a franchise quarterback where you're like, well, if you guys score too quick, you're in big trouble. And Caleb Williams will win this game. And he did it 7 times last year. And a couple times where he was very damn close. And it was just like the underthrow against the Packers and Green Bay. Like, he can work on those things. He can get better at those things. So what I'm saying, Brennan, is if you take all that stuff, the theatrics, the clutch gene, the off script throws, off filter throws, you take all that stuff, you combine it, and you say there's probably a couple sports writers out there that are more worried about stats, right? I think we can both agree on that. Some of these guys voting on MVP are like, hey, listen, this guy had 50 touchdowns, 5,000 yards as the MVP. If you can just bump those stats up, get over 4,000 yards, because that seems to be like the new standard in the NFL. You got to pass over 4,000 yards if you're considered a good quarterback. If you could throw over 30 touchdowns, which I think he's going to do both up next season, I think it's actually going to be pretty easy. I think he's going to be around 4,400 yards and probably 36, 37, 38 touchdowns. If he gets those numbers next year, but he's doing the same things he did this year, where there's everybody in the outside world watching the Bears, like, man, the theatrics, this Bears team is so exciting. You can't turn the TV off. Watch Caleb Williams. Did you see that throw? Did you see this throw? Did you see that throw? Oh, PFF. Caleb Williams had 4 of the top 10 throws in the NFL this season. If they can continue to be a playoff team, because the MVP almost always has to be on a playoff team.
It does.
And he gets over 4,000 yards and over 30 touchdowns. It's almost like he should be, I don't want to say guaranteed, but he should be in the top 3 conversation already.
Well, and there's a lot of politics to these awards. He's the greatest show on turf. He is. People who aren't watching, if you got no dog in the fight when the Bears are playing a football game and it's on national TV, you're turning that shit on, and you're doing it for one reason. You want to watch this kid play. There's no doubt about it. Matter of fact, there was a Packers fan filming himself watching the Bears-Packers game, a podcaster or a YouTuber, and Caleb threw that play, the pass to Roma Dunze when he got hit in the foot and he's now falling in the air. And the Packers fan said, that's the greatest throw of all time. That's the greatest. The Packers fan was like, that's the greatest throw of all time.
The Packers players, throw of all time.
Christian Watson
on the bench was like, oh my God, man, you got to be kidding me. First of all, he's going to stick out in the NFC because we just talked about the competition in the NFC quarterback's just not that great. That's just not. And there are guys like Jaden Daniels who have question marks above their head, but I think I've talked about it before. I talked about it before he was drafted. I think Jaden Daniels is always going to deal with injuries, so I think that's going to kind of knock him down.
Young Jackson Dart's going to be turning some heads.
Sure.
I thought Tyler Shuck played much better football than I ever thought.
But like I said, you got to be talking about playoff teams, right? The Saints, I like Tyler Shook. I don't think the Saints are a playoff team.
I think John Harbaugh's Giants are going to be a playoff team.
Probably. But I guess the whole point of this Brennan conversation is people talk about Caleb like, why would you even in a million years think that guy has a chance at MVP? My thought process is, why wouldn't you think he's not like the front runner? I mean, if this guy can just get a little more efficient,
Vegas kind of defines that. He's got plus 1,600 odds.
And Colston Loveland's going to get better. Luther Burden's going to get better. I mean, the guys around him are going to make him look better. Luther Burden's going to start turning 4-yard screen passes into 60-yard touchdowns. It's only going to look better it's a 60-yard touchdown for Caleb Williams as well, even though it's a 4-yard pass. I mean, if I just don't see how if you're a fan, not a Chicago Bears fan, you're outside perspective looking in, and you're kind of biased and you don't like the Bears. I think you got to just be a realist and be like, man, listen, I don't like it. I don't want the Bears to be good. I don't want Caleb to be in the MVP conversation, but I think it's almost a can't miss. Like I'm
J2K just said it too, Kyle. Like Caleb Williams is clearly progressing every year. Like the under center thing was the biggest question, and I thought he has his best numbers under center. Honestly, Caleb is the magic. As much as we love the magic, that the running around and throwing crazy balls up without any kind of platform, with his legs and hips and core in the wrong place. When he played under center, he threw his best statistics. So there's no reason to believe that Caleb isn't also going to be one of the best statistical quarterbacks in the league, on top of still providing the magic that you're talking about, Kyle. He could be a 40 plus touchdown, 4,500 yard guy, especially if the Bears, for whatever reason, did struggle to run the football. I have full faith and confidence that Caleb Williams is going to still just dish the fucking ball out, man. That's what he does. That's what
Yeah,
he's
bro.
done his whole career.
Real quick, James says, guys, remember the main reason people like podcasts is allow the chat to participate. Dude, James, we're trying, man. There's something going on with StreamYard. It's been happening for a couple weeks now. We're going to get to the bottom of it. I'm going to call them tomorrow.
James, that's our favorite part of the show. It's
Yeah,
our
man,
favorite.
we love talking to you guys,
yeah.
man. We just spent a good chunk of the show talking to the chat. For some reason, James, I'm not having any show up, and then all of a sudden I have 50. So I got to scroll back up and try to figure out who said what.
Yeah, and Crooked Commissioner, who runs his own podcast, said he's having the same problems with StreamYard.
There's something going on with StreamYard, and their connection to Twitter has been down lately. There's just something going on with them. That's some IT problems they're having. We will get to the bottom of it, because I don't want this to continue to happen. I want to see every single chat you guys have to put in here. It's definitely something that's more StreamYard. It's not us, man. I promise. But I agree with you, man. We are here to talk to you guys. That's why we do this. I think that's the reason we started this in the first place. We just got sick of listening to the four of us talk to each other, so we started talking to try to build a community here, and that's our goal. There's just something wrong with StreamYard. It's been doing this, and the problem is it's not consistent. Like one show it'll be fine, and then the next show it'll do this again, and then
Romy, I find Caleb to be more comparable to Josh Allen than I do Patrick Mahomes.
I don't know, man. If you talk about the off-kilter stuff, like the innovator, like improviser,
the innovator stuff is Josh Allen.
Improviser, I think he's more like Patrick Mahomes, man. They're just very tough. They're not. Their pocket navigation looks awkward, but it works well for both of them.
Mahomes does the weird shovel pass stuff, and the throwing while his knees almost on the ground stuff. Caleb, to me, as an improviser, reminds me very much of Josh Allen. He's able to throw the ball very far with his arm without needing a whole lot of body. That's Patrick Mahomes can throw at every angle. He can throw the sidearm passes and stuff like that. But I don't know that he can throw as well off platform as Josh Allen and Caleb Williams.
Yeah, and Vernon Scottish says, if the Bears improve the defensive side of the ball, Dennis Allen's side of the ball, the league is big trouble. The Bears offense will be another season in Ben's system. Yeah, I think, you guys heard me say this earlier. I said this on earlier shows. Last year, the Bears, I think, were sixth in the NFL with 26 points a game, 27 points a game, Brandon.
Better defense means more possessions.
But yeah, you fix that defense. These three phases start to complement each other a little bit more, and then you got guys like Colston Level, Luther Bird, and Rome Odunze starting to come into their own and start to get better and better and better, and the game slows down for them. Yeah, I don't see. There's just too many weapons, and that's why I'm not a huge fan of the idea of trading DJ Moore. I'd like to keep as many weapons here as we can until Caleb is a finished product. I think the Bears' offense is going to be very, very tough to scheme against, because I think Luther Burden and Colston Level are going to take some massive, massive steps forward. And Burden, I'm glad he brought that up, because is there anybody else in the Bears outside of Caleb who you think could be in these award conversations next year?
See, there's so much politics, but I don't know. I would say Ben Johnson is coach of the year, but it's always a new coach. It's always a guy who's not anticipated to make the playoffs, and now Ben is. That's the expectation. So if he gets there, I don't know that he's going to impress anybody. I do think it's a running back award, offensive player of the year. I think Colston Loveland and Luther Burden could be. I think this.
Brandon,
I don't know if you consider an award.
Look at the chat. Look at J2K's chat.
Yeah, I don't know if you consider an award. I think Colston Loveland, guys, you heard it here, is I think he's a first team all-pro player. I think Colston Loveland will be the first team all-pro tight end in the NFL, without a doubt. I have no question. There's no question in my mind that when that guy plays a full season the way he finished the second half of last year, he is 100 reception plus, 1,000 yard plus, 8 touchdown plus kind of player.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm in a fantasy league, Brennan, where your keeper has to be somebody you drafted after the 4th round. So it can't be Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, Chimera. You can't keep those guys. So you got to what you're doing after the 4th round is trying to find some diamonds in the rough, right? Well, there's a guy in our fantasy league. Nobody ever keeps tight ends, by the way, ever, unless you're talking about like Travis Kelce in his prime years. People just don't keep tight ends. Running backs and wide receivers are usually the guys that people keep. The guy in our league who has Loveland has some other options as well, where he's got RJ Harvey, he's got Quinshon Judkins. He was like, I'm definitely keeping Judkins. I'm like, Scott, I would seriously consider holding on to Colston Loveland, man. I think that guy, if like Scottish Bear says here, if that guy gets a full season of Ben Johnson's offense with Caleb Williams throwing the ball, you're talking about numbers that could be north of Travis Kelce's over in his prime. I mean, you're talking about a guy who could absolutely change the tight end position.
He's not coverable as a receiver. He's not defendable as a tight end. He's just a mismatch for anybody you put on the field. I don't care who you have on defense. I do think that Colston Loveland is definitely in line for a future award over any other player than Caleb Williams. But yeah, I mean, there's some potential there for Ben Johnson win head coach of the year if he's got like the best record in the NFC. I think it would have to be something along those lines because, like I said, the expectation now is that he wins. So Caleb MVP, Colston All Pro, maybe offensive player of the year. That's kind of my wrong. This is kind of becoming a running back award.
Well, especially now that you have these guys.
Didn't Puka Nacua win it?
Yeah, I mean,
if Luther Burden had a
the problem
1,800-yard, 10 touchdown season, he's in line.
The problem is that just tight ends just don't get the same opportunities as wide receivers and running backs. I mean, you're talking about running backs who touch the ball 18, 22 times a game if they're like the sole, like the Saquon Barkleys and Derrick Henrys of the world. You're talking about wide receivers who could take over games like Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, Justin Jefferson. I just don't know if Colston Loveland's ever going to get that amount of opportunity, especially on a team that is so deep and has so many playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. But I'll tell you this, if for some reason Roma Dunze and DJ Moore get hurt next year, and the Bears' weapons become Cole Kmet, Luther Burden, and Colston Loveland, I certainly think Colston Loveland can push himself into that conversation.
Walker. I do think this guy, if he plays a full season, this is a bold prediction. It's not a prediction, it's a possibility. If he plays a full season, Kyler Gordon could be Defensive Player of the Year. I think that's the kind of impact Kyler Gordon can make on this team and make on a defense in general. I think they were ranked like 18th when he was off the field.
It's also tough though, man, because
when he was on the field,
it seems like the writers care more about sacks than anything else, man. Like
of course.
I feel like it's just a defensive end.
Well, and it doesn't matter what Kyler Gordon. If let's say Kyler Gordon played 17 games,
but Patrick
he had 10
Surtain won
interceptions and 150 tackles. Myles Garrett was the Defensive Player of the Year. I don't give a fuck who else anybody else did.
And Patrick Surtain won it the year before that, so it's not out of the realm of possibility that somebody in the secondary can win Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, we've seen it before. I think Darrell Revis won a couple of them. Like it's really good corners who established himself in the NFL and start to get national notice. They can do it.
And he's a sack guy. He can do a lot of things. He can provide defense in a lot of ways. The guy can cover. He can get to the quarterback. He can take the ball away. We've seen it a few times, but he's got to play a full season. He's got to play a full season.
That's Slim. I like your projections here, man. I don't know if I'll get mine out. I always do mine before the season starts, so we can compare them later when mine are done. But that's certainly not a bit. 32 touchdowns, 4,100 yards for Caleb, 4,200 yards. That's pretty much around. I got a little bit higher on the touchdowns for me personally, but like maybe 42, 4,300 yards and 35, 36, 37 touchdowns. But yeah, pretty damn close.
37 touchdowns
for Caleb. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant DJ Moore. It's like,
God, I wish.
That's the Offensive Player of the Year right there. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough.
I agree, J2K. I'm not saying that nothing is possible. I think Loveland could take over the league. I think.
So real quick, guys, while we're on this subject, because there was an article written, the most tradable player on every team. It was actually Cole Kmet, not DJ Moore. Me and Dustin have differed on this because we do the show on Thursday night, the bare minimum. I don't love the idea of moving Cole Kmet. I think that's. I
don't like the idea of moving either.
I think that's your bread and butter. I think the 2 tight end thing, the 12 personnel thing, is what the Bears were able to lean heavily on at the end of that last season. I think
Yeah,
that's
so
kind of what
we've talked
carried
about
them.
Rome's hands a lot too, man. A lot.
I think
We've
that's
taken
kind
a
of
lot
what
of time on this podcast.
I think it's what carried them into the playoffs. I think that's what made Caleb. It was his outlet when he was in trouble. Those two guys together, and Colson Loveland is a stud of a fucking player. He's obviously already my favorite tight in the NFL. But the two guys together is what provided the biggest problem. When they did that that heavy package um,
12, 13 personnel, yeah.
where Ben was doing this, and they went out against the Packers on the goal line for the 2-point conversion, and they put all those guys on the line of scrimmage, and the defense. God, who did they throw out? They threw out like guys who played like one snap.
Yeah, they had
Like,
a backup linebacker who had played 7 snaps on the season. And then when the Bears
and
spread all
that's
3 of those
and
tight
then you
ends
put
out,
those
he
guys
just got
out.
trapped on
Yeah,
Loveland, and that was
you got a one
that
snap
was it.
linebacker playing against Colston Loveland. That's a joke. That's a joke. Yeah, J2K, this is my point. Loveland is a beast, but Komet provides the two of them provide the element. I think you lose the element unless you trade Komet and you sign yourself like somebody who makes a difference in receiving the ball. It's those two guys that make it really hard for a defense to decide what the hell they're going to do because you
Yeah,
can't
and
do much.
for a team that runs more 12 and 13 personnel than the other team in the NFL, I'd say the tight end 2 on the Bears is probably more important than most teams, man. Brent, is there anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here? I think show's getting a
We
little
covered it all. I think we
drawn out,
made
man.
something out of nothing because the chat was here along with us. James, we do apologize, man. We're not trying to
Yeah,
ignore anybody. These chats
James, we
disappear,
love
they
you,
come and
man. We
go.
would, James, you know, we always talk about your chats, man. We would never ignore you like that, brother. There's something going on with StreamYard. We're going to get to the bottom of it, I promise. You know, you guys know IT. There's always some problems somewhere. But
Yeah, Kyle's gonna
everybody
crack
in
some
the chat,
skulls.
Slim, Phil, Relentless Mikey,
Deacon,
Bearskin, Matt, Deacon,
J2K,
James, Mikey,
Dante, we missed you tonight.
Purple Jesus was in the house, man. Slim, thanks for joining the show today. We appreciate it. Real
Scrolls,
active
we
in the
missed you
chat.
tonight. Bruce, thanks for being here.
AC Adam was here, man. Scottish Bear, I don't know if you saw that
Rizzo,
already.
Joe,
Yeah, anybody we missed, I apologize,
Crooked
man. You
Commish,
guys are such good, faithful fans, man. It's getting
John
tough.
S, Relentless Mikey.
Paul Martin, Romy, Sean Lugo, everybody. We appreciate you guys so much. Thank you. We will get this chat thing figured out. I promise. I will get to the bottom of it some in the next couple of days here. We love you. We appreciate you. Hope you guys
Back
take
on Wednesday.
care of yourselves. You take care of each other. Yeah, we will be here Wednesday. Sean, Jason, and I. We're going to be talking about safeties in the draft, talking about some Bears news, some of the stuff that's happening during the week. Please come visit on Wednesday if you guys get a chance. Vernon and Dustin, I think they will be here on Thursday. I think is the plan. 11:30, the bare minimum. If you
Hey
guys,
guys, that's pretty much just a shoot the shit conversation for those who do
yeah,
want to.
if you missed that show, guys, you can always listen to it on your way to work in the morning, man. I know it's 11:30 is a little bit late for some people, man, but you know these shows are on YouTube for always. And then, guys, breaking news: anybody in the chat here who's also a Cubs fan, Sean and I will be bringing back the Northside 9 permanently, but we're going to change the time, guys. So we were doing noon on Saturday evenings Saturday afternoons last year. We're going to do Sunday at 7 p.m. this year, guys. Sunday at 7 p.m. We're going to start breaking down this Cubs roster, where we think we're at, some of the strengths and weaknesses, and we're going to get more and more Cubs guests for you guys. Talk to some Cubs writers, some play-by-play guys. The baseball's here. It's time, man. The season is upon us. Everybody's reported to training camp. The only guys missing are the guys.
A couple of pitch challenges have worked in the Cubs' favor in spring training.
Yeah, there's going to be some rule changes to baseball. We'll get into all that stuff. Thank you so much. We appreciate the shit out of you guys. Bear down. We love you, man, and we will see you Wednesday.
Bear down.